you're studying a poem, you should always look at the background of the author, the poets, for you to have a better understanding, for you to be able to analyze the poem well. So we'll be doing that briefly, okay? We'll be doing that briefly in this video. We'll look at the background of Robert Frost, at least when he was born, when he died. That's if he's dead. Okay, background of the poets. So like I said, hope you're with your poem. Always jot down whatever you see, okay? Please, if you're not with a poem, pause this video, go and get a pen. You are big boys and girls. In fact, you should, in the next few months, you guys will be in high institution. Okay, Robert Frost was born in San Francisco, but his family moved to Lawrence, Massachusetts. Did I get the pronunciation? Mbele, they tell me. Okay, in 1884, followed by his father's death. So you can see that is like the late 19th century. The move was actually a return, for Frost's ancestors were originally New Englanders, and Frost became famous for his poetry engagement in New England locales. That's to tell us Frost is originally from England, a British poet, you know, but he was born in San Francisco. Some of you have this, you understand. Some of us were born probably in Rivers, but you're Biosans. Like, you know me, I was born in the north, but I'm from, you know, and all that. So that is the same. Okay, so his poet engagement with New England locales, identities, and themes. Frost graduated from Lawrence High School in 1892. Are we following? Okay, as class poet. He also shared the honor of valedictorian with his wife to be then, Eleanor White. And 2 years later, the New York Independent accepted his poem titled My Butterfly. Of course, you know one thing about poetry, you have to always put it in a quotes. Hope you know that. That shouldn't be news anymore. Whenever you're writing a poem, always put it in a quote, okay, guys? I know you know that already. So, launching his status as a professional poet with a check of 15. You can see that there. We don't know how much it was then, but I think it was something, right? Okay, let's make progress. His poem have helped to guide American thoughts and humor and wisdom, setting forth to our mind a reliable representation of ourselves and of all men. As you can see, he's been writing. Frost has been writing right from when he was in high school. He was even a class poet. Are you getting it? So Robert Frost has always been a renowned poet. You understand? He always had it in him. Just like most of you have it in you. You just need to unleash it. You just need to, you know, get back your mojo, or get your what? In 1955, the state of Vermont named a mountain after him in Ripton, the town of his legal residence. And at the presidential inauguration of John F. Kennedy in 1961, Frost was given the unprecedented honor of being asked to read a poem. Wow, you can imagine. Presidential inauguration. You understand? He read a poem. That's to tell you, he was, you know, in the US, in the UK, in the world. You can see we are studying him now. Are you guys getting that? So, Frost was given the... Okay. Frost wrote a poem called Dedication for the occasion, but could not read it given the day's harsh sunlight. You understand one thing about poetry? You understand? You have to always work with nature. Frost was a nature poet. What do we call them? I hope you have not forgotten. Romantic poets, romantic poetry, nature poetry. You know what? Hope you've not all forgotten that. Okay. He instead recited The Gift outright, which Kennedy had originally asked him to read, with a revised, more forward-looking last line. Okay. In October 1963, President John F. Kennedy delivered a speech at the dedication of the Robert Frost Library in Amherst, Massachusetts. In honoring Robert Frost, the president said, "We therefore can pay honor to the deepest source of our national strength. That strength takes many forms, and the most obvious forms are not always the most significant. So he dedicated a library to Robert Frost. That was when he died, I think. You understand? And they paid tribute, they paid an honor, and he gave this speech. You understand? And he's calling Robert Frost the deepest source of a national strength. You can imagine a president saying that about a poet. Guys, we are honored to study this poem. I can tell you that. And okay, our national strength matters, but the spirit which informs and controls our strength matters just as much. That was the special significance of Robert Frost. Oh, so touching. The poet would probably have been pleased by such recognition, for he had said once in an interview with Harvey Birches, "One thing I care about and wish young people could care about is taking poetry as the first form of understanding. If poetry isn't understanding all, the world then isn't worth anything." Get it again. Guys, read that last line. If poetry isn't understanding all, the whole world, then it isn't worth anything. If poetry isn't understanding all, the whole world, then it isn't worth anything. Can you see that? Can you see that? Frost is a metaphysical poet. You know, I told you metaphysical poetry. Can you remember when we studied the Pole? Most of us had to memorize that poem. I can remember, it was fun. The poem Birches is an example. It contains the image of slender trees bent to the ground temporarily by a boy swinging on them permanently by a nice storm. But as the poem unfolds, it becomes clear that the speaker is concerned not only with child's play and natural phenomena, but also with the point at which physical and spiritual merge, and spiritual realities merge. So he was concerned with the transcendental and the present, the spiritual and physical, where they meet. And the Birches was like a bridge. We'll get to see that. We'll be studying the poem right away. So guys, that is all we can say about Robert Frost for now. So we'll now head on to the background of the poem. Birches was first published in the Atlantic Monthly in August of 1915. It was first collected in Frost's third book, Mountain Interval, in 1916. Birches, with its formal perfection, its opposition of the internal and external worlds, and its sometimes dry wit, is one of the best examples of everything that was good and strong in Frost poetry. Are you getting it? And now, the main image of the poem. Okay, now before I read this part, I want you to know that this poem was previously titled Swinging on Birches. Now it is titled Birches, but previously when he wrote it, it was titled Swinging. So write that down. I don't think I have it on the slide. So write that down. Swinging on Birches, and it was published in 1916. Now, guys, let me tell you something about 1916. 1916, the 1916 was a period where the whites, the Americans, were in the middle of the First World War. They were in the middle of a war then. Go and check. In 1916, the war started. No, the war started before 1916. So the people were tired. They were depressed. They were devastated. You understand? A war was going on. World War. And so this poem is like, it's so thin. It was more like an advice. The poet was asking people to embrace the simple things of life. He had to just write a poem to let people know. People are thinking a lot. People are devastated. People are sad. So he wrote this poem so that people could know that they had options. Are you getting it, guys? Are we together? So this poem was more like an advice to the people, but we'll get to see that. The main image of the poem is a series of birch trees that have been bowed down so that they no longer stand up straight, but rather are arched over. When the poet quickly establishes that he knows the real reason that this has happened, ice storms have weighed down the branches of the birch trees, causing them to bend over. He prefers instead to imagine that something else entirely has happened. You understand? The poet went into the transcendental. He prefers to imagine. So the poet was an imagist. You know, when he cooked up a story in his head, he knows the real reason why the trees were bent. The poem is about a tree. This poet knows the real reason why the trees were bent, because of the ice storm. You know, the ice storm, the snow, it fell on the tree, and so it was blocked. But when the sun came, it melted it, and so making these trees to bend over. You understand? But he chose not to. He preferred to see it in another way. He felt better that way. Why don't I travel in my mind? You know, let me just assume that it was a boy that bent the tree. No, but he knows it is not a boy. But he preferred instead to imagine. So write images. The poet is an imagist. The poet is an imagist. You understand? You understand? Instead of being practical, he decided to be whimsy. You can see whimsy and practicality. You can see he balanced it. There was a balance. You understand? Okay, so let's make progress. A young boy has climbed to the top of the trees and pulled them down, riding the trees as they droop down and then spring back up over and over again until they become arched over. This tension between what has actually happened and what the poet would like to have happened. That is, you can see there's tension. There's tension between what has actually happened and what the poet would have loved to happen. You can see it is a tension between the real world and the world of imagination. Please write them down. A tension between the real world and the world of imagination. How many of you have a world of imagination? Most of us do. Yes. In fact, now that we're in a lockdown, I know how bored we can be. Most of you, you know, you are off. You're always in your head, and you always hear your own thoughts. You know, you have there's an entire world revolving around this, right? So the world of imagination runs throughout first poetry and gives the poem a philosophical dimension. You understand? Since there's this tension, there's this rift between the real world and the world of imagination, it's now making the poem look like a philosophical, giving the poem this philosophical dimension and meaning far greater than that of a simple meditation on birch trees. You understand? You know, when we come to analyzing poetry, we have the denotative and the connotative. You understand? Just like we have the color black, it denotes a color. Connotative, you know, it has so many connotative meanings, those that personal to the poets. So this poem has a the denotative meaning. Oh, talking about a tree now, a boy. He thought it's the boy that's bending the tree, but it's not the boy. But you can actually it is not just a simple meditation on a birch tree. It is way more than that. Are we together? Let's make progress. So this is the poem now. Now we'll start analyzing the poem, and this is where I need your full attention, guys. I need you guys to really listen, pay attention to what I am saying. Okay, now, like I told you, the poem was originally titled Swinging on Birches, and I also told you guys that the poem was written in the heat of the World War I, and it was published in 1916. Now the poem is an iambic pentameter. It's an iambic pentameter. What do we mean by an iambic pentameter? You know that we have 5 stressed and 5 unstressed syllable. 5 stressed. Write it. The poem is an iambic pentameter. 5 stressed and 5 unstressed syllable. Let's look at it from the beginning. Let's count the first line. When I see birches, bend to left and right. When I see birches, bend to left and right. Can you see 10 syllables in each line? 5 stressed and 5 unstressed. But we'll not look at style for now. We are just going to analyze the poem. Then in our next class we'll look at the style. Now let's begin. Are we together? When I see birches, please can you recite with me? Yeah, I know it's something kindergarten will do, but guys, recite with me. When I see birches, bend to left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees. I like to think some boys been swinging them. I don't know if you have this poem in your exam focus. Underline I like to think. Underline it. I like to think. Like I told you, the poem is, you can see a tension between the physical and the imaginative. So he's saying when he see birches bend from left to right, it's a tree. Birch, it's a type of tree, the birch tree, across the lines of straighter dark trees. He liked to think it is some boys swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay. Now he's admitting that just if a boy just swinging a tree does not necessarily bend it. It's a boy does not have the ability to bend a tree. You can see he has these escapist tendencies. Are you getting it? The poet has this escapist tendency. You can see, he went into his imaginative. Imagine a young boy. You understand? Imagine a young boy bending the tree. But he admitted, line 5, he said, an ice storm do. Often you must have seen them. Loaded with, now he's describing how an ice storm burns a birch tree. You understand? Now he's describing it, nothing. Often you must have seen them, loaded with ice, a sunny winter morning. After a rain, they click upon themselves. As the breeze rises and turn many-colored, as the stair cracks and crazes their enamel. So he's saying that this birch tree, they are loaded with ice on a sunny winter morning. After the rain, then they begin to click upon themselves. But when the breeze rises, they begin to change colors. Sometimes it happens when rain beats a tree, when there's sun, the tree begins to change colors, and it begins, you can see, crack because it's getting dry. Cracks and crazes their enamel. Soon, now he's saying this, so you can see it's a nature poet. You can see how he tells us nature's marvelous works on the trees. Can you see that? He's a romantic poet. He says soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells. First it was cold because of the ice. Now the sun came to warm it, and they are now shedding their shells, crystal shells, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Shattering and avalanching on the snow crust, meaning when the sun comes with its warmth, it kind of dries them up, then they begin to shed. Just to have a picture of water beating a tree, but then the sun and dries it up. You know how strong it gets. And sometimes when you hold those leaves, have you picked a dry leaf and it begins to, you understand, it begins to shatter. Then he said he's comparing it to a heap of broken glass. He says such a heap of broken glass to sweep away. Those of us that have stayed, in the tropical areas, most mornings when you wake up, you always see heaps of leaves falling from a tree that you have to sweep away. So he's saying, he's comparing it to a heap of broken glass. You understand? Meaning they are probably glittering. Can you see that? Now, you would think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. So he's saying that when it happens, I think he thinks it's beautiful because you would think the inner dome of heaven. You can see him going to the transcendental. They are dragged to the withered bracken by the load, and they seem not to break, though once they are bowed. Now, if we denotatively, he's talking about how the birch sheds. But now, can we go to the connotative? Now, looking at the connotative, we are saying that life can weigh us down. You understand? Life can weigh us down with all sorts. Some of you are weighed down now, I don't know, but when you're growing, life can really weigh you down with all sorts of challenges, from school to your social life to emotional to physical. Life can bring different blows. But we should be careful. We shouldn't suppress ourselves. Like the birch tree said, and they seem not to break. You understand? And they seem not to break, though once they are bowed. As much as life wants to weigh us down, we should try to resist. We should try to fight. We should try to stay consistent. Are you getting it? Yes. You might be even right now be tired of reading, but you don't have to give up. Keep reading. You can see everything that happens to that tree. Can you see everything? But the tree does not, and they seem not to break. Please, everybody, pick your pen, underline it, and they seem not to break. Have we done that? Beautiful. So low for long, and they never right themselves. He's said, he went further to tell us, you may see their trunks irking in the woods years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground. Like girls, you can see the simile, the comparison. He said, after a while, you may see their trunks irking in the woods, you understand? You just see the trunk of the tree. It might also fall too. That is years after. Then they are trailing their leaves on the ground. You can see the image. I have this mental picture of the trunk of a tree trailing the leaves on the ground. I am so in my mind already. I don't know. This poem has gotten into me. I say, like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their head to dry in the sun. Now, you know what? Most times when most of you wash your hair, you know what you do now? You bring it forward. We do like this. We bring it forward so that, we'll be doing like this so that it will dry in the sun. That is how the beech tree is bent sometimes. But I was going to say, when truth broke in. So the poet here admits that even though he has this escapist tendency, even though he is going into his imagination, he admits that he admits that the truth is, it is the ice storm, it is not the boy. He said he admits, but I would like to say when the truth broke in, with all her matter of fact about the ice storm. Now, at the beginning, he said you will think it's a boy, but he later admits that no, it is the ice storm. So now he said that he knew that he is just lying to himself, it's just his imagination, he's just all up in his thoughts. But he would have really loved it if it were a boy that bends them. Can you see that? That would have really loved, would have preferred the transcendental. He would have preferred to have it his imagination. He said, I would have preferred to have some boy bend them. And as he went out and in to fetch the cows, notice a little boy probably sent by his father. Some boys too far from town to learn baseball, meaning this boy probably, it's a rural setting, so he doesn't really know a complicated sport like baseball. Baseball is a big deal in the US. He's in the rural area, so he doesn't really know any modern games. So he says, some boy too far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself. Maybe the father sends the boy to tend to the cows, and so he doesn't know how to do anything, but the only play he found himself was, there was no, now how modern swings, we swing up and down and all, but the boy it's not privileged to witness such. Then summer or winter and could play alone, meaning he found kind of play that he would prefer if this tree was bent because of a boy who discovered that he could actually find peace. You understand? Who discovered that he could actually find himself doing something in spite of what is happening. You understand? He was going to be able to play, even though he has to play alone, one by one. And those trees were in maybe his father's compound. He subdued his father's trees by writing them down over and over again, meaning the boy, has a mental picture of he climbs the trees and he writes them down, up, down, until he took the stiffness out of them. At the beginning, these trees are stiff. But because the boy keeps bringing it up, maybe he climbs, his weight keeps pulling them up and down. Then he takes the stiffness out of them. And not one, but huge limp. Not one was left for him to conquer. He learned all there was to learn about not launching out too soon. He learned about not launching out too soon, and so not carrying the trees away. So the boy knows, as he's so skillful. The boy is so skillful in, he's so skillful in swinging the birches. Now, clear to the ground, he always kept his poise. When you're poised for a fight, you're poised for a photo. Now, to the top branches, climbing carefully, with the same pains you used to fill a cup, up to the brim and even above the brim. With the same pains you used to fill a cup, up to the brim and even above the brim. Meaning the boy, he's not carrying not carrying the trees away, clear to the ground. He always kept his poise to the top branches, meaning he's carefully. How many of you have seen George of the Jungle? George was so skillful when it comes to climbing trees. It's very old, but so that is how the boy is carefully. Just the same pace we take in filling a cup. You know, when you get to that top part, you are being careful so that it doesn't feel even above the beard. That is the picture they are painting here. Then he flung outwards, feet first, with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. Kicking his way down through the air. You know how it feels now. Then he's flung outward with a swish. Then he jumps down. Some of you that are very skillful in tree climbing, you know, you have the mental picture of just what the poet wants to believe this young boy is doing. So was I once myself a swinger of birches. Now, the poet is telling us, for him to have an idea of how the birch tree is usually bent, you should know. I'm sure some of you are asking yourself, are you sure this man was not a swinger? Maybe he used to be a swinger of birches, or he's even the young boy. He's even the poetic person. He's even the young boy in the poem he's talking about. So he says, so was I once myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. It's when I'm weary of consideration, and life is too much. You can see the tone of the poem has gone to a melancholic. Can you see the switch? Are you guys following me? Can you see the switch? And so I dream of going back to be. It's when I am weary of consideration, and life is too much like a pathless wood. When your face burns and tickles with cobwebs, broken across it, and one eye is weeping. From a twigs having lashed across its open, I would like to get away from the earth a while, and then come back to it and begin over. This is the tension between the physical and the transcendental. Now, the poet is saying, when life weighs you down, I told you this poem was to soothe the people. This is where the advice comes in. People were battling, the World War One, and people were sad and depressed, and they wish they could just leave this world. But he's telling them that you can actually leave this world, but it's up here. It's not a physical vacation. Are you getting it? You can actually leave this world. You can go to the transcendental. Just imagine. Just have an imagination. Your imaginations are limitless. That is what he's telling people. When you are weary of consideration, when life is like a pathless wood, when you go into the woods. Sometimes we see these movies of people going into the woods and they keep creating a path, but there's no path. The wood is endless. And your face burns and tickles with cobweb. I have this picture of when a cobweb is on your face. It's like you're destabilized. And he's telling the people, I would like to get away from the earth a while. Now, this getting away is not physical. It is the transcendental. It is not physical. It is the transcendental. So the beech tree is a link between the physical and the transcendental. Just like the boy swinging a beech tree. He said he would like to but he would want to come back to it and begin over. Meaning, have you ever been so weighed down by circumstances, by one or two challenges, and you just wish you could disappear for a minute? But you don't want to, but you would return and then come back to it and begin over. Just disappear, just to go and rejuvenate, to replenish, to refresh your memory. Sometimes things happen like, I think I need to leave this place for a while. I just need a vacation. But that vacation is not physical. A mini holiday, it is in your mind. Have you ever felt that way before? I don't know if you're feeling that way now. Like I told you, the tone is now a bit melancholic, a bit down. Just tone. Are you getting it? So I don't know how this poem is making you feel. That is what the poet is talking about. When life weighs you down, he is creating an escape route for you. Are you willing to take it? Are you willing to go into your mind? Like now the pandemic, they're even telling you can't travel. So even if you had wanted to travel, or wanted to, maybe some of you want to, let me just go and visit my cousins or my siblings or something, would you have been able to do that? Are you getting it? So that is what the poet is telling us. But we would like to come back to it and begin over, rejuvenate, so that we'll come back lighter, come back fresher. You're ready to face it. Okay, that is why we go on holidays. Hope you know that. On a good day, we can keep learning every day and every day and every day. But there's a time to rejuvenate. Go back, go on a vacation. Then you can return. You're ready for the next term. But I know this holiday it's too much. We can't wait to come back, right? See. Now, here's the twist. There's okay, now let's read it first. May not fate willfully misunderstand me, and have grant what I wish, and snatch me away, not to return. Earth is the right place for love. Now he's saying, be careful what you wish for. Guys, be careful what you wish for sometimes. You understand? He said, let fate. Now, this kind of philosophical, he believes in fate. He said, let fate not misunderstand me and assume I am saying I want to be snatched away from this earth. I don't mean physical. I don't want to leave the earth. So I'm just saying sometimes, I can be weighed down. I can be depressed. I can be sad. It can be really sorrowful. You understand? I just want to travel in my mind, the transcendental, but up here. You understand? So don't, and have grant what I wish, and snatch me away, not to return. He still believes the earth is a wonderful place, in spite of the world war. Yes, the earth is wonderful. The earth is this is the only place you can find love, true love. Do you believe so? Have you found true love? Do you think the earth is the right place for love? I'll be waiting for your feedback, guys. So he's trying to say, don't misunderstand me. So people, always be careful what you wish for, okay? I don't know if somebody is wishing, you can go here, but please come back, okay? The people that actually go here and they become delusional. You understand? It's like they stop being pragmatic. They are idealists, and they are always idealists, but they are not practical. Are you getting it? He said, I don't know where it's likely to go better. Meaning the physical or the transcendental. He don't know where it's likely to go better. But I'd like to go by climbing a beech tree. Meaning he don't know, going to the transcendental, going on that vacation, going on that holiday, leaving the earth. Put earth in quotes. Oh, I hope you're writing, guys. Meaning leaving the earth. He don't know if it's the right choice. He don't know the right channel. So he's saying the beach should be the link. He would like to leave the earth by going to a beach tree. Now, where do you find solace? Where is your comfort zone? Where is your safe haven? And that's a question I'm asking you. Whenever you go into your mind, where is that place you always see yourself? And that is your safe haven. For him, it is by climbing a beech tree. He always imagine, probably his eyes are closed, and you can see this peace. Now, guys, where is your safe haven? I don't know about you. I know mine. I know where I always go to. You understand? Some of you have so many places I don't know. So that is say, he said, I don't know where it's likely to go better, but we would like to go by climbing a birch tree. He's having this nostalgic feeling. He wants you to be a climber, a swinger of beaches. So there's this nostalgic feeling that's revolving all over him. Then he said, and climb black branches up a snow white trunk towards heaven. He wants to go towards heaven, the transcendental. Are you getting me? Ancestry? Till the tree could bear no more. Meaning he doesn't mind swinging. And I say, but dipped its tops and set me down again. That would be good, both going and coming back. Now, underline going. Going means to rejuvenate. Coming back means lighter, fresher. Coming back to reality and still finding peace. Now, say that till the trees could bear no more, but dipped its top and set me down. Meaning, when you swing and you come down, it brings you down. That would be good, both going and coming back. So for him, it's two-way. Please, I just want to. I am okay with the physical, but I want to go to the transcendental for now. An imagist. One could do worse than being a swinger of Birches. Now he's trying to say that being a swinger of Birches, that is where he got the first title, and he later retitled it Birches. Now he's saying being a swinger of Birches is the best thing that can happen to one who is weighed down, one who is depressed, one who just wants to escape, an escapist. You just want to escape from realities. He said anyone that does not believe in going to transcendental is worse than will do worse than a swinger of Birches. Meaning you can always go to your imagination. You can always go to the transcendental. You can always escape from the physical. It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be a physical escape. You can always go to this transcendental, but you would come back like a swinger of Birches, like a sprinkle of birches. I can so relate to this poem, especially now, this lockdown. It's been 2 months of, you know. I just hope you all are doing fine. I just hope you all are doing fine, because this poem, it's really personal for me. Yes, I literally want to escape, but now I get to know that I don't. It doesn't have to be physical. I could actually go to my mind, go to my safe haven. It doesn't necessarily have to be this way, but it could be another way for you guys. Are you getting it? Times when you're like tired, you're bored, and you're like, I know most of you are super bored, super bored. Like, boredom revolves around you. You can escape. You can escape to the transcendental. You are poets. You know how these things go. You can just imagine. It could be the beech tree. I don't know about you, but I hope you find yourself heaven, guys. I really do. Okay? So that is the... Now, in subsequent collabs, we'll be talking about themes, styles, and all that, okay? Now, yeah, this is a picture. It is when I'm weary of consideration and life is like a pathless wood. Can you see an image of a pathless wood? Can you see the boy, an image of the boy swinging? That is the image we get. Bringing it down, up and down, up and down. That is the poet. The poet has escaped already. You can imagine. Yeah, this is also what a birch tree looks like. This is what it looks like. So guys, I know I've taken much of your time, right? But I hope you learned from the lecture. I'm going to be giving you guys an activity.